to the High Courts. Okay. Still on the nation, 11 discos to refund 55.4 billion metering loan. Shutdown of Egbin plants, worsen outages. You know, I was watching a report earlier. It wasn't a report, like an interview, about a special interview actually. And then the person was talking a statement that if you want to know where you are as a nation, you should ask yourself with your power situation, if you are still begging your government to give you electricity, not even constant, not even 24 hours now, stable, even if it's 5 hours a day, that is how backward a nation can be. So in the last 20 years, we've had issues around our power generation, power distribution, the national grid. And the truth is that we have every single thing in the world to probably be the most power stable country. We have all the resources we can use, irrespective of your social class. You stay in Tunu-Wada, in Kano, you stay anywhere in Nigeria. Discos took loans for meter and they would have to refund it. 55.4 billion naira. Okay? Let's also look at Ibadan convention. Remember, there was a convention in Ibadan, the capital of Oyo State, on the 15th and 16th of November 2025. The one Wike called a Jamboree convention. Well, the Supreme Court has said that the decision of the appeal court to nullify the convention stands. So as it is right now, the faction loyal to the Oyo State governor, and of course led by Turaki, are loyal to Seyi Makinde. The one loyal to Wike for now has been nullified. What will be the next plan? Will they align with the main one, or they will shift base and join with the ADC? As the leadership of the ADC have at different times met Seyi Makinde, met Turaki, all of them. So maybe this Supreme Court judgment will finally nail the 1.5. So let me explain why I say 1.5. One, Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, and the other one, Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, is neither here nor there. Today is meeting with the APC. Tomorrow is meeting with Labour Party. Next newspaper, Atiku picks Tegbe 20 for by-election in 6 states. Okay, so a new Minister of Power will be nominated after the decision, and he's been nominated as the new Minister of Power. That is going to be dependent on the screening and approval by the Nigerian Senate. So let's see how it goes. It looks like the people of Oyo State are getting it good with the power sector reforms, aspiring to be the governor. And if I were to be a voter in Oyo State, I would just sit back and say, why are you a Minister of Power? What did you do? Okay, page 20 of Nigerian Tribune is reporting that story. And also on the top right corner of the Nigerian Tribune, Tinubu nominates Tegbe as Minister of Power, appoints Lanre Babalola advisor on power. Okay. Bridge linking Kwara and Oyo collapses. That is page 30 of the Nigerian Tribune. Still on the Nigerian Tribune, Supreme Court nullifies PDP Ibadan convention, void status quo antebellum order on the ADC. What that means is that David Mark and his leadership have been restored temporarily, and they've been sent back again to the appeal court. Returns leadership dispute for trial at the High Courts as Vabara-led state governor, His Excellency Abiodun Oyebanji, addressing the workers and labor leaders at the governor's office during a walk in support of the governor's re-election tagged Work for Bao. Bao is Biodun Oyebanji, yes, organized by the Nigerian Labour Congress in Ado-Ekiti. On Thursday, Ekiti workers staged a 20th of June. Well, the governorship election in Ekiti is coming up next month. Yes, today is 1st of May. So on the 20th of June, the people of Ekiti will go back to the polls. Unfortunately, the PDP may not be fielding a candidate in that state because the faction that conducted the primaries that produced the PDP governorship candidate in the state has been nullified. So it could just be a one-way traffic for Governor Biodun Oyebanji. Okay, still on the Nigerian Tribune, OPay expands access to 1.2 billion naira 10-year scholarship program, signs MOU with more schools. UBA pushes deeper bank fintech collaboration at the Pan-African Conference. I checked that out on page 16. Okay. Rethink Labor Welfare Strategy, CPPE, urges government. That is on page 16 of the Nigerian Tribune. Women mega rally signal movement for participation to power. That is the minister is talking. Which of the ministers? Check page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. Women mega rally signal movement for participation to power. Interesting one right there. Why the ADC Accord, Zenith Labour Party, Action Alliance, APP should be deregistered. Attorney General of the Federation tells the court. Okay. Page 18 of the Nigerian Tribune. That is a big story, by the way. In 2019, we went into the election with about 79,003. It reduced. Some were deregistered, some were delisted, some didn't produce or present a presidential candidate for that election. And now we have about 20 political parties in Nigeria at the moment. And the Attorney General of the Federation is telling the court to deregister the ADC, the Accord Party, the Zenith Labour Party, the Action Alliance, the APP, that's the Action People's Party, should be deregistered, is telling the court. And finally, on the Nigerian Tribune, NNPC completes $700 million OB3 gas pipeline River Niger. Okay, we have a few more newspaper headlines to take for you today. And let's touch down on the Vanguard. An LCCI tax federal government on weak budget execution and delay in fund release. That is the Lagos State Chambers of Commerce and Industry. I think that's about the most active LCCI for. Interesting right there. 120 APC leaders signed Hamzat's governorship nomination form. Interesting. It's been a wave of endorsements from the current deputy governor of Lagos State, Dr. Hamzat. And of course, a lot of people have attributed such an endorsement to his loyalty to the party, his consistency within the corridors of power, and more importantly, they call him the man with the waiting game skills. He's been there, stepped down for 2 different governors, served as a deputy or serving as a deputy to one. And now, it started off with the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, endorsing Dr. Bafemi Hamzat. Then I think that was followed by the former Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives and now the Chief of Staff to the President, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. And there was also the endorsement from the GAC, the Governor's Advisory Council. That is the biggest policy-making bloc in Lagos. And of course, the sitting governor, Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, also endorsed his deputy to succeed him. And that's the first time that we're having a direct transition from a Hamzat will probably be first of many in Lagos. He's also going to be the oldest man to govern Lagos. He's currently 61, and by the time he gets on the ballot and contests the election, he'll probably be 62 years old. So Lagos is experiencing a shift. There are a lot of things that have never happened in Lagos before. Lagos have never had the former governor go to the Senate. Lagos have never ever had a deputy succeed his principal. If you go back memory lane from 1999 till now. So Hamzat, maybe not a breath of fresh air as such, but it's also becoming the first of many. Let's keep our fingers, because the opposition in Lagos have a lot of work to do if they want to unseat the APC in Lagos. But it looks like the APC are forming and closing ranks. But let's keep our fingers crossed. 120 nomination for Gbajabiamila Masari to supervise APC National Assembly primaries. That's going to be interesting, by the way. This is a big responsibility for Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. But of course, I'm sure he can get the job done. The president has mandated himself, and of course, one of the closest allies of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Aminu Bello Masari, to supervise the APC National Assembly primaries. OPE signs new MOUs with 4 more schools, expand access to 1.2 billion naira 10-year scholarship program. That is a good one right there. There's a picture at the top end of the Vanguard newspaper. It's a lengthy one. And let's vacate order against Mark-led ADC returns case to the High Court. INEC recognizes the Mark-led ADC leadership, voids PDP's Ibadan convention that produced Turkey, who studied the judgment on ADC and act. INEC is responding to that. Ruling leaves PDP without clear leadership, according to the Turaki group. No more factions in PDP. That is the factional leader of the PDP saying no more factions. The ADC would appeal the ruling, and Minister of Justice is telling the courts. The First Lady is also in the news. Remi Tinubu rolls out 1.2 billion naira, 100 trucks of rice for vulnerable northern families. As workers may day in pains as labor decries insecurity, poverty, and inflation. Obi to Tinubu, borrowing for consumption is a killer cancer. Okay. And of course, Governor Agbukefas of Taraba State receiving award from Dr. Peter Mba, the governor of Enugu State, at the Vanguard Personality of the Year Awards in Personality of the Year Awards 2025 in Lagos. NWC Lifeline settles PDP's case. That is the Supreme Court right there, and that is being reported on Daily Sun. Borrowing for consumption is cankerous. That is coming from Peter Obi. Calls for accountability, transparency in public borrowing. Well, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said that borrowing is not leprosy, but his administration must commit to effectively using. Let's see what the other headlines are saying. Motorist grown nears 1,400 naira per litre. With the rider, marketers, refiners seek urgent. The Supreme Court gives Mark-led ADC NWC Lifeline, settles PDP's case. Overrules appeal court. All factions to return to the High Court. Sacks the PDP-led Turaki. Okay. 1992 set of the House of Representatives and 7 senators. Chief Whip of the Senate, Tahir Munguno, Borno State Middle Chairman, Senate Committee on Southeast Development Commission, SCDC, Ojiuzo Kalu, Abia North Right, and Deputy Senate Minority Leader, Larry Oyewumi from Osun West. All of those guys, okay, let's leave that. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike second left exchanging pleasantries with the FCT Council of Chiefs after confirming with chieftaincy title Asken Abuja, the light of Abuja, and that is the new chieftaincy title the former minister. Asken Abuja, which means the light of Abuja. Okay, so maybe you add chief in front of Wike's name now. Labour marks May Day as federal government declares the holidays. Page 26 of the Daily Sun is reporting that story. Angola Rukuba killing. Security titans as suspect appear guilty. Remanded in DSS custody. Case adjourned till 8th of May. Varsity brace up for disruption as SANU NASU begin strike. SANU is the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian University. NASU is the Non-Academic Staff Union, and both of them had embarked on a strike. Though Monarchs seeks support for Aduda. I knew this was coming. You know, in case you don't know, Senator Philip Aduda is being referred to as the Abuja landlord. So because of the unique status of Abuja, they have only one senator. And that senator, right from as far back as I remember, had always been Senator Philip Aduda, a close friend and ally of the FCT Minister, Bryce Nyesom Wike. And so there's been a long-running political battle between the current senator from Abuja, Senator Ereti Kingibe, that was voted on the platform of the Labour, but she's moved to the ADC. And at different times, the FCT minister said, you will not return to the Senate. I bet you on that. They've been across each other's neck for as far back as Wike had been made the FCT minister. So now Wike is seeking support for Philip Aduda to return to the Senate. I think he represented Abuja from, I think 2003 to 2015 or 2007. I think 2003 to 2015. He was the senator representing the FCT in the Nigerian Senate. Now his friend has been made the minister of FCT and is rallying support to return Philip Aduda to the Senate. You know, in the course of the week, I got involved in a political conversation and the questions around the longevity or the terms of law discussed. If the governors are limited to just 2 terms in office, if the president is limited to 2 terms in office, local government chairman the same, why should we have senators spending 18 years, 20 years in the Senate? Why should we have reps members spending 15 years, 20 years in the House? Those were the issues that was discussed. Does longevity relate to performance? That is a question I'm going to leave you with on the newspaper review segment of the show this morning. We'll take a very short break. When we come back, we're going to a major discussion on the show today. And I tell you, it is going to be less of me and more of you. We'll open the phone lines and you join the conversation. Stay with us. You're live on MITV plus Breakfast Express. The first edition for the show for the month of May. And once again, happy Workers' Day.
Well, I have a feeling things are about to change.
The new season of the hit series Wura is coming to Africa Magic.
You don't say.
Here's everything you need to know about the woman behind the name to get ready.
This is well.
Wura is the ruthless CEO of Frontline Gold Mine.
I'm going to build our paradise here on earth.
She'll do anything to maintain her power and perfect image. With fraud and, of course, murder.
Let the dead state hit her.
Many try to take her down, but she always claws her way back to the top.
I have a plan.
That is, until she discovers that the last person she murdered is her own abandoned daughter. The once unbreakable Wura begins to fall apart, and her empire of gold crumbles around her. But she would rather die than have the world discover who she truly is. Catch Wura Season 4 on Africa Magic Showcase and available to all.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome back. Well, I'm sure you had a good time on the newspaper review segment of the show. And now we've got big stories for you that affect you and I every single day. Okay. On the issues that we have this morning, we're going to be asking a lot of fundamental questions, and it means that you will also have the opportunity of joining the conversation. And it means, again, that I would open our phone lines early enough so that we can allow you to call in and get involved big time. The Court of Appeal ruling, which directed parties in the suit over the leadership crisis rocking the ADC to maintain the status quo ante bellum. In the lead judgment, Justice Mohammed Garba held that the Court of Appeal has no business making a preservative before the trial court, having determined the interlocutory appeal brought before it by Senator Mark, succeeded in part, even as it dismissed the aspect that challenged an ex parte order of the Federal High Court made for service of processes in the suit filed by aggrieved members of the party. The Apex Court directed them to return to the trial court for the continuation of the hearing of the case. Let's take a listen. Stay with us.
the order made by the Court of Appeal that status quo antebellum be restored had been set aside. In other words, the basis upon which INEC acted to remove the name of Senator Mark and his ESCO had been removed by the Supreme Court agreeing that the order of status equation of jurisdiction before the trial court. In other words, the Supreme Court allowed the appeal. The objection to the competence of the appeal was dismissed. The appeal was valid, but they agreed that we ought not to have come. The Supreme Court is a court of policy, and like you hear their lordship say it, they are all Nigerians. They are aware of what is going on. Democracy must flourish, and it must thrive.
It's a victory for multi-party democracy in Nigeria. We have repeatedly maintained that anything contrary to what the Supreme Court had ruled will have set Nigeria's democracy back by many years. So we are glad we have remained confident in the judiciary. We have repeatedly maintained that we are confident in the judiciary, and we are very proud as Nigerian citizens today that the Supreme Court has not let the judiciary down, has not let Nigeria down, and as Nigerians we are very proud. And this means to us that democracy will survive in Nigeria. Then we can go back and begin to do the hard work of politicians. As we have had the lawyers explain, the full implementation on which INEC acted immediately restored the name of David Mark, Rauf Aregbesola, and other ESCO of the party on his portal, and begin to continue to deal with us until the High Court determines the case.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome back. You know, I was just watching the reports and I could see the excitement on the faces of the leaders of the ADC, the lawyer that represented the party and the national publicity secretary of the party, the judgment. And you could see how excited they were. I mean, it's a major win for them. It's been a long time coming, different court judgments, but it's still not yet clear. Because the Supreme Court had also returned them to the High Courts for the case to continue. I really hope, and I'm sure you're watching the members, you know, at the lobby of the court are celebrating the judgments, and you know. But again, the leadership of the party that conducted the case are still not clear. So the court says that go back to leadership of the ADC has been restored, even on the INEC portal, as the likes of David Mark, Rauf Aregbesola, Bolaji Abdullahi, all of them have been returned to the INEC portal as the official ESCOs of the party. How much of a victory, in quotes, is that for Nigeria's democracy, according to, you know, all of these people? It's been a wild celebration, you know, around social media, even, you know, a different Supreme Court judgment was given. Because the convention that was conducted on the 15th and 16th of November in Abuja had been declared null and void. That means the leadership of Turaki, the faction loyal to the governor of Oyo State, no longer exists according to the Supreme Court. However, the effort of the Supreme Court to, in their own wisdom, restore democracy. And the call for the removal of the INEC chairman still continues, according to the leaders of the ADC. Now, what do you make of that judgment? Let me allow you join us, put a call through to us, or text us directly on WhatsApp on 0707 3800 3800 the judgment had been held by different, you know, members of the ADC, and they are saying it's a good one, it's a win for democracy, it's what we want, it's what we're expecting. What do you make of that particular judgment? Call in, join us, contribute, and send your messages on the High Courts to continue the other judgments. But what does this thing, what does it change? What difference does it make as we build up to the 2027 election? You can join us on those numbers so that you can share your thoughts and let us have your take on that particular judgment of the Supreme Court suit over the leadership crisis rocking the African Democratic Congress, the ADC, and as instructed is still being disputed. 070738000959. Okay, we'll also take the second story so that I can join us in between and get the conversation going. Okay, you can join the conversation 07073803800959. 070738000959. Okay, Colin, let us have a conversation. Okay, for the PDP, the FCT minister had come out to say, finally, there are no more factions in the PDP. So what that means is that the faction led by Turaki, loyal to the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, no longer exists in the eye of the law. So it means that the recognition of Senator Ayaun as the national secretary of the PDP is valid because his suspension was actually done at the now nullified National Convention in Ibadan. So it's a bit a complicated story, you know, but the judgment is very clear. There are no more factions in the PDP. What that means is that whether the leadership of Wike would absorb them or they would also go to other political parties.